My name is Josh Polk, and this is my colleague, Dr. Christian Rogers, and we'll be talking about the boiler gold rush to excellence. First, to give you some context of where we're from 1969 until the current day, in Indianapolis, we have a combination of our two great universities in the state of Indiana, Purdue and Indiana, and as of now, we've announced our divorce, and our department is in the Purdue side, but we're going to stay in Indianapolis. But we are now part of the official Purdue West Lafayette University. In our presentation for the next 90 minutes, we're going to discuss the history of corn. I am teasing. However, that is the unexpected turn of events that propels our student-designed miniature dark ride into the story, where we tour the Purdue campus, we visit Neil Armstrong on the moon, and we have a heart-stopping near-crash landing just in time for the big game in the marching band finale. We're very excited to tell you about what our students have created. I have a lot to share today, so forgive me for the pace, but push your lap bars down and keep your arms and legs inside of the train, which is our knockoff of our Purdue mascot, which we call the Purdue Boilermaker Extremely Special. All right, so the Boiler Gold Rush is actually an action-packed week that incoming freshmen come to learn all about the university and their traditions. The BGR Entertainment Challenge was created with a Fusion Studio on Purdue campus and offered a grant for $3,000 to create interactive works and projects within the context of the Boiler Gold Rush. So the genesis of the proposal of the idea came from a couple different things. One, Don Carson created a quarantine edition dark ride miniature that you see there on the right. And also, being at APA, I saw multiple demos of these miniature rides, like the one by Triotech there. And there were a couple others that I saw last year, including a little water park ride there. So the question was, could we create a miniature dark ride and display it with Purdue theming? So a lot of questions. What expertise do we have? What technology are we going to use to make this? Can it be done in a short time frame? Who's actually going to work on it? We really had no idea to these questions, but we were going to go after it. So with our proposal, we wanted to get our students more involved in hands-on projects. We wanted to grow class engagement. We wanted to give an activity for our themed entertainment, engineering, and design club to be a part of. We also wanted to give them some actual real-world experience. Our classes are online mostly for our certificate, and so we wanted some students to do some hands-on type of work. We wanted to build a ride showing off all the many disciplines that our students have and just all the different parts that go into creating a dark ride. We wanted to let all the incoming students discover this incredible field and the incoming Purdue students. And also we could use this as an engagement tool for prospect students that come visit our campus. We also wanted our students to interact with the professional world through critiques and design reviews. All right, so we're going to get started on the project, and our department graciously added an additional $1,500 to our budget, making it $4,500. All right, Chris will tell us about how we came up with the idea for the ride.
I get one slide. So that's all I get. So in our playing and communication course that we offer, we basically kind of took a pause and a timeout really to round up the students, to have them focus on what is the Purdue brand, what's the messaging, and what's the culture that they try to create and dictate or provide to their students. And ultimately, what do they want to provide to students that are incoming to the university? And so we really spent some time, or I spent some time with the students researching the Purdue brand and the culture to identify what are the main things that we would want to actually see and experience for a student that would actually go through a Purdue dark ride. And so they spent a number of weeks actually going through and coming up with theming statements, mood boards, things of that nature to provide background and context to the summer course that would be creating the ride.
All right, so we had to figure out who's going to work on this team. It was pretty apparent to me that this was not a project that was going to come together just during students' free time or club activities. So we did tap members of the club to join a full summer course that lasted about 14 weeks of work. So I had actually the best possible team one could put together because I had a wide array of disciplines. Madison, mechanical engineering, and great documentation if you visit our website later. Andrew, history, and also writing the script. Eric was our project manager based out of New York City. Paige, key for scenic and set design. Ethan, just an expert at 3D modeling and printing. And Grace Shelton, one of our graduates, who did writing and review of our work. So we had many hard questions to answer to get started. How do you make a miniature dark ride that moves? What materials do you make it with? How do you get a box to hold it? We did get some great initial advice from Davin Houston. He was an ex-Purdue professor and now an expert and works in the field of interactive design experience. He had a lot of great ideas for us. And also a good friend of mine, a project lead the way teacher, an engineer, had a lot of great advice to get things going. So getting started, first let me tell you about some extreme challenges our team had. We only had 3 students on campus. We had one student who was in Texas, and we had one in New Jersey, a New York area. One of them worked the 3rd shift. And there was actually, I kid you not, only 1 hour a week where we could find where everyone could get on a phone call at the same time. There were trips to Italy, other summer fun, camping, things like that. And 2 weeks before our deadline, I found myself in the ER dealing with kidney stones, and that didn't help. So who decides? Like, we have all these story options from Chris's class. Who decides which ones we pick? Who does what? Do we have enough time to get this actually done? So we started things out with a creative brief, and story and script were the first order of business. I'm going to sprinkle in a few quotes from a post-class survey from the students. So many platforms and strategies were tried, but I think the remote nature of the project and the fact that it was during the summer made it very difficult. Here's a quick shot of our creative brief and some of the things that it entailed. The concept, the goals, the theme, tone, design philosophy, really considering the audience that was going to take a look at this. So with the story, we consider that very essential. We had a great story advisor, a historian and writer about Purdue, Angie Klink. She was great. She helped us make sure that we were staying true to Purdue and all their various elements. For one example, our first draft of the script had Purdue Pete, our mascot, one of our mascots, as the narrator for the project. The only problem is Purdue Pete doesn't speak. So she noted that and helped us out there. She also helped us with alumni stories and scenic elements, making sure that we took advantage of the diversity of our alumni and the students that go there. All right, so I'll have a lot of visuals of just different things we did. We created an emotional journey map before we really laid the ride out to determine those key story beats and what you would feel at the various stages. We then went to a ride layout to kind of map up the dimensions. We had a kind of a box size. Our main specification was that it would be able to fit in a car to drive from Indianapolis to Purdue West Lafayette, and that it would fit through the doors. If you start a project like this, make sure you can get it out of the room you start building it in. We did do a cutout model of a sketch at the size we needed it. And we found out kind of towards the end that we would have done much better to actually put this in software and have this mapped out, because we had to reuse this layout multiple times and it became very difficult to only use that to create the wood that needed to be cut out and just different things. Here's another quick shot of the refined layout. Electromechanics, how are we going to do this? My first thought, and some of our first thoughts were like a trackless robot, or maybe ones that follow a line, something like that. Those are typically pretty big though, and it would not fit in our space. We thought about a model railroad. That actually probably would have worked out really well because we do have the train as a ride vehicle. However, we did want to use this project idea in the future with other dark ride possibilities. And so we didn't want to go to the train. We wanted something that'd be flexible and down the road. So we ended up using Vex Robotics, and they actually have a newer track system that can work. The only problem with the newer track system, there was almost no YouTube videos explaining how to use these tracks, what motors to use, and things like that. So we're kind of on our own with some experimentation for that kind of things. So we had to figure out the motors, the wiring, the switches, and those types. We did a cardboard mock-up of our layout, which evolved into a white model. We were working hard, and we had to find balance, and this is typical amongst teams that do this in the real world, that creative versus technical battles. But what we found is that through that collaboration and kind of those tough moments, it actually led to positive compromises most of the time, and actually new ideas that were better than the other, between the conflicting ideas. So we're still asking, is this even going to work at the end of the day? And it really relied, people were working on these different parts. They all relied on each other for it to all work in the end. So I think the miscommunication, misunderstanding between the creative teams and the technical teams was extremely frustrating. So that was feedback we got. We had a lot of natural leaders who thought their ideas were the best, which was hard and led to some tension. Quick note, my son, who's 9, hang out in the lab with us and built his own little model. And just as an aside, he is looking to build a water park if anybody has any funding. So we use Fig Jams, which is a product of Figma, to do our whiteboarding and some online communication, which is helpful when you got asynchronous things going on here. We storyboarded our scenes. We had to build a box. It had to have a scenic layer that came out and the guts underneath that ran the track, and we had to be able to access that to get it to work. So just a quick shot of this. We had to build the box. None of us were carpenters, so we had to figure out what tools to use. There was a great makerspace on campus we were able to use. 3D modeling and printing, we printed the mascot, the ride vehicle, as well as, there's the finished shot there and some of the printing work, as well as the big bass drum and the Purdue Engineering Fountain and the bell tower, just some of the most iconic things. We were able to paint those and make those look great. We used one of our graduates to help us with signage, with a logo design, sign design to create the whole flow and a queue line and a post line activity. At the end of it, we have a selfie kind of booth where students that were checking it out could put the date of when they were going to graduate and kind of identify themselves as future alumni. We printed out our own materials and also ordered some. And this is a little bit of the signage that is most of the educational content that people just coming into this would be able to check it out. That's a flow map of going through the attraction. Technology, we wanted to do some projection mapping. That ended up getting cut. Will our motors work? We wanted to integrate some more LEDs. And then we had a takeaway. Our initial thought was like a Pepper's Ghost, like some kind of project that students could do at home. Ended up, it didn't really fit into the story we're trying to tell, so we cut that, but we do have a postcard. I've got a huge stack of them in the back corner. If anybody wants one, it has a link to our video, point of view video. Then this point of view video, we got voice actors from New York City with our project director, know some people out there. So we have voice talent, sound effects, and did a complete ride through of the ride. It's about 5 minutes. I invite you to check that out. I have a QR code at the end. And project management. Calendar timeline, one-on-one meetings actually proved to be extremely effective. We had to do budgeting and order parts through 2 universities, red tape. We got great professional advice from Logan here, which was awesome, and Don Carson. Bill Keevy, who's a Disney animator. A little bit of feedback, Don Carson was thrilling. He gave me great deals of perspective. We had write, rewrite, postcard, script for the signs, lots of different writing activities. And then the finish of the project, 100 to 200 hours between me and Paige doing all the scenic. A really tremendous student that was able to use her scenic theater skills to build, to color everything, bring everything to life, and create a really cool scenario that really reflects what the Purdue campus looks like. Finishing up, assembling and getting it all ready together, crunch time, lots of coffee, lots of hours, summer's flying by in the big day. This is our presentation. going through it. We had lots of incoming students. We actually had a middle school running team come through. There was about 50 kids that all checked it out, so the next generation there. That's just a real quick kind of walk through of that whole ride through. And then I got a few shots of feedback, and then I'm out of here. I enjoy getting to work on such a large project. Largest project they've ever done. It is rewarding to be able to work on something beyond the average assignment. Invaluable experience, passion projects, and you can't do it by yourself of something of that magnitude. And it made us think about real world concerns and design issues rather than just that concept, right? That idealized project from creative and aesthetic. I encourage you all to try this in your, if it's a possibility. There's lots of things that we could have done better and might make the next version, but I encourage you to try hard things. I think all the great projects out there are things that they probably thought couldn't be done at the start of it. And so I'd encourage that. Many thanks to our students, and please check out our website. It actually explains every step of the process. So if you wanted to repeat any of this, you have that information, and my email if you have any questions. I'll be around at the break, but I'll be checking out right after the next break with my kids. So be sure to catch me if you have any questions. Thank you.